excitement every night on NBC.
For life in the fast lane, be there.
We are back today with our 12th edition in our Not a Director's Cut series. If you're new here, drop us a line in the comments and let us know where you are watching from. I also wanted to take a quick second to ask you to help us out by subscribing to our channel and giving this video a big old thumbs up. And if you would like to support us on Patreon, we would surely appreciate it. Your support there allows us to bring you new, exciting, and exclusive content not found anywhere else. The link is in the description below. Okay, enough of that. Let's dig into Forget Me Not. Well, it's been a while, but we actually have an original NBC promo for this episode. So let's show it to you before we forget. Get it? Forget me not? Here it is.
Friday on Knight Rider, an assassin terrorizes a steeplechase.
Michael, be careful!
See KITT prove his horsepower on the turf when the Knight Rider becomes a Rough Rider. Friday.
Production 57312. Forget Me Not. This episode was written by Richard Christian Matheson, Thomas Solosky, Karen Harris, Deborah Davis, and Chris Lucky. Directed by Gil Bettman. This episode originally aired on NBC Friday night at 9 p.m. December 17th, 1982. And it was originally filmed November 22nd through December 1st, 1982. This is the 12th episode to be produced, and also the 12th episode to air, which actually hasn't happened since the pilot. So we are about as up-to-date as you can be. The synopsis of this episode reads as follows. Michael must help an amnesia victim recover to prevent an assassination. All right, let's dig in. So this beach house has kind of always been of interest. So the interior scenes that you see for this house are actually filmed inside of this house. So Maria Elena comes out of the ocean and walks in, and that's all in this same house. But what's neat to note is if we go back here to the opening screen, we see this little tiny 2 parking spot here with this shack, and just for fun I decided to bring this house up on Google Drive. I'm sorry, not Google Drive, on Google Maps, and you can see here the house is still there. This is 31206 Broad Beach Road in Malibu, and if we move over here you get a great look at how tiny those 2 parking spots actually are. And we can see that this garage, which is actually the garage for the house right here, is still intact, and everything is kind of as it was. But if we look here and then we go back, we can see it still had this trellis over the top here. They added a door in. Let's go back one more time. And they removed the brick pillars that were right here. But you can see otherwise, this is pretty much all the same. And the house is still intact and looking pretty much like it did back in 1982 here. And it's deceiving because it looks like the house is right up against the road, but in reality it's quite a bit further down. In fact, so much so that I thought that they moved the road in the intervening years, but they definitely did not. And this is Maria Conchita, who played Marie Elena Casafranca in the episode. She was actually kind of a big score for Knight Rider early in the day. She was raised in Cuba, crowned Miss Teenage World in 1971, and was actually the first runner-up to the Miss Venezuela competition in 1975. And in the top of the Miss World competition in 1975. So she had been, even prior to this episode, a very successful actress in Latin America, working on almost a dozen different telenovas, which are the equivalent of soap operas. And then she came to the United States in 1982. So Knight Rider was really one of her first roles once she immigrated to the United States. On the route to the mission, KITT kind of briefs Michael on the different players involved, and who we're seeing here is Eduardo Casafranca, which is Maria Elena's father in this episode. What was neat is, so this obviously takes place at the very beginning of the episode, but did you ever notice that this picture of Eduardo is actually a screenshot taken from the climax of this episode at the equestrian grounds? So take a look at this. Look at this suit, this woman's arm, the polka dotted pattern here. Now watch this. So we're gonna jump ahead to the equestrian show, and here we are. So there's Eduardo. There's the exact screenshot that KITT showed Michael in the beginning of the episode. So apparently KITT has some kind of a magical time travel aspect where he can bring up images that have not happened yet. So there, take another look. So we've got him there, and there's the real picture. How about that? And this is Alejandro Rey, this guy right here, who played Rudy Del Fuego in this episode. He was famous for a number of different shows that he was on over the years. Most, probably the number one is The Flying Nun. He was a series regular on that back in the late 60s. He also had appearances in Gunsmoke and obviously Knight Rider, Fall Guy. His last appearance, he unfortunately died in 1987 at the age of only 57, but his last appearance was actually in an episode of the A-Team called The Theory of Revolution, in one of the A-Team's later seasons. And, of course, we couldn't go through this episode without mentioning the wonderful Judy Landers in her first Knight Rider appearance here. Judy is actually a twin. She has a twin sister named Audrey. And Judy is an accomplished gymnast. She is a former Juilliard music student, very, very accomplished. Besides her appearance as Sheila in season 3's Night Strike, she starred in just a multitude of 80s shows: BJ and the Bear, Vegas, Night Court, The Love Boat. Judy Landers making her first appearance here as Mickey with an Eye Bradburn. And speaking of returning guest stars, this is Michael Horsley playing the valet in this episode. And he returns also in season 3 in the episode Night in Disgrace, playing, you guessed it, another valet. So this is his first appearance here. So, yet another instance of one of the prop license plates, which you see in every episode, but this is perhaps one of our better views of one of the plates. So this one I can tell is actually made from masonite. And all they did is they silk screened the letters on. Some of these background plates, they didn't put as much effort and time into in terms of the construction. Most of the ones that get close-ups, like the Knight license plate, are actually made from metal with actually hand-cut or die-cut letters that have been glued on the top. This one is just your basic background plate. Doesn't even have California. They did throw some stickers, registration stickers on, but these are just silk screened on because, again, it was never meant to be seen up close. And here we have KITT self-activating to push these cars out of the way. And if we zoom in a little bit on KITT, we can see that, earlier, which we didn't show you, this was the hero car. But then whenever this scene started, it switched to the backup to the hero car. So we can see here we've got the blind drive seat suit in place, and we've got a small round stunt wheel, and obviously no TVs. This is just kind of a fake dash. This is the sticker dash, which I showed you in our analysis of the final verdict. You can see a pretty good shot of that, but this is just kind of the basic dash with the general shape that you're supposed to be fooled by. And then of course here we see this same Mercedes, but now magically they've added padding onto the bumper. So if we go back up 2, we can see there's no padding here, and then we move forward and they've added padding so that when KITT hits the Mercedes it wouldn't damage the bumper. And of course, adding to that, then it pans over to this Mercedes, hitting this Mercedes, and its bumper is now wrapped as well, followed by the Mercedes hitting the Renault right here. And all 3, no California on it, on the license plates, but all 3 have the padding on the bumper to protect them. And then we have KITT backing up and coming to the rescue, still the backup to the hero car, round stunt wheel, no dash. We are 12 episodes in. We are still only 4 Trans Ams and 1 Flivver car. I promise you that will be changing very, very soon. We'll have information on a new Trans Am in no time at all. But for now, 4 Trans Ams and the Flivver car. And of course, as the car backs up and turns, if you look real closely, you can see a hand with a glove on it, a seat suit glove, kind of like we saw in the pilot, turning the steering wheel to back up to pick Michael up. Yeah, and there we go. If you look real close, we'll zoom in. You can see the hand right here holding on to the steering wheel. And then we move to KITT's wonderfully advanced graphics. Tracking the getaway car with Mickey with an eye Bradburn in the back seat. And this is, as is the case a number of times in the series, they just used existing video games of the day. And I remember personally playing this game just called Auto Racing on my Intellivision video game system, and I'm sure it was available on other ones, but for me, when I saw this, I'm like, I play that game. It's called Auto Racing. So there you go. Here we have Michael, in reality Jack Gill, during the chase, trying to chase Mickey, and this is the general purpose stunt car. And I don't necessarily feel the need to point out each and every car in every scene, but something interesting is happening with this stunt car, and it just has to do with all of the damage and repairs it has already seen in the first 12 episodes of filming. So we can see it's got both of its seatbelts and it's got its squared off overhead console, much like the backup to the hero car has. But in this episode especially, you start to notice some issues with the hood. Specifically, look at how the hood is bowed up right here. And that's going to become a signature feature of this car for a little while, and it helps us to identify it. So keep that in mind. We'll see that again here shortly. And we have Michael slamming his foot down in KITT to try and pass the car. This is actually not the inside of a Trans Am. I believe, I'd have to go back and check, but I believe this is a scene from a Plush Ride when Michael is driving the limo. And this is him flooring it in that episode, but definitely not a Trans Am. And we have Mickey making a tumble out of the car, making her escape. And this is, of course, how she gets amnesia. But this is clearly not Judy Landers. I don't know who that is, but a very brave stunt woman for flying out of a car and rolling down a hill. Definitely not Judy Landers. And then we have KITT coming to a halt to cut off the bad guys, and then they do a 180 and get away. That's Jack Gill right there driving. But here, you can see it a little bit better right here. We'll still see it, but you can see how the hood is bowed, and especially right here. Just one too many, damages and getting it straightened out, and they obviously didn't straighten it out enough. But this car specifically has got this bowed hood now. And this is Michael going back get Mickey. And just a couple things just to point out, again, how patched together these cars really are. So you can see that the side door trim is not even. It's all wobbly. We've still got the antenna stub here, which is featured on all of the original cars pretty much through the first season. And then look at this poor fitment right here of that front nose. I mean, it doesn't even fit. The line at the bottom isn't even lined up. It's just a complete disaster there. But this is I believe the stunt car, the same one with the bowed up hood. And now we move to a nice close-up of KITT's scanner. This is not the stunt car. This is the hero car, I believe. And we can see we've got some gaff tape holding the terrible turn signal covers on. And I only say terrible because they cause the production so much anguish with having to deal with those. And then, of course, on this side, it's hard to tell if that's a crack or what that is. And we've got two rivets holding it in on this end over here. And we have KITT, whose winch is failing. And if you think about this in real life, that's a pretty weak winch, right? I mean, because it's pulling two people up. What's the max they weigh? Hasselhoff, 180, 200 maybe. Judy Landers or Mickey, I don't know, 120. So let's just say let's be ultra conservative and say, let's just say they weighed 400 pounds together. When was the last time you had a winch that would fail pulling only 400 pounds? So obviously Knight Industries really dropped the ball on setting up KITT's winch in this case. The next day, Michael goes back and he rappels down the cliff, except, of course, that is not Michael. That almost looks like a teenager wearing a wig. But whatever. Hasselhoff saves. That's all that matters, right? Here we have the two bad guys. We've got Fred Lerner on the left, who played Ray, and Michael Lane, who played Jerry. Fred Lerner, right here, would appear again in the series in Brother's Keeper. He had a pretty decent role in Brother's Keeper. And actually, I should point out that this is actually not Michael Lane. I don't know who this guy is. I think this is Fred Lerner, but this must be a stand-in for him, despite the fact that it wasn't some kind of a stunt or anything. I mean, they held on this scene for a while, so you could clearly see their faces, but I'm pretty sure that is not Michael Lane. You see, especially if we turn here, like, look at that guy. There's an even better shot. So I think that is Michael Lerner, but that is not, I'm sorry, Fred Lerner, and that's not Michael Lane. So let's move forward. There's Michael Lane right there. So let's take a look here. So if we go back, I don't know who that guy is. And I think they even have different belt buckles on. Yeah, they do. See, he's got a round belt buckle, and that one doesn't. So I don't know why he needed a stand-in to walk on the rocks. Who knows? Maybe he had a bad ankle. But the other thing, which is interesting to note, remember, KITT is still at the top of the cliff, and he hasn't turbo boosted down yet. But if you look off to the frame on the far right, we see KITT up on a dolly. And I don't know why he would be up on a dolly, but he's up on a dolly right there. There's the back end of KITT, but when KITT should not even be on the beach yet, he's still up on top of the cliff. And once again, we're reusing footage from the movie The Car. This is the scene where KITT is turbo boosting off the cliff to catch the bad guys, and of course they also use this in Trust Doesn't Rust for car going off the cliff. But watching this scene, the edit is even worse because you see this car just kind of flail off the cliff, and then all of a sudden we see kind of this, KITT jumping, over the camera, and you see the car continue to kind of flat, just fall straight down, and then we move over, and now KITT's coming in at an angle. So I don't know, just more poor editing. But this is the Flivver car, and we can see here we've got the dune buggy chassis, heavily reinforced with a skid plate, the rubber shell on top, getting ready to land. Here we are with him getting ready to make the drop right here. But I point this out because if you look in the background, you see a fantastic sign for Pontiac. And not only is it a Pontiac dealership, but it's the Bob Ruman Pontiac dealership. Now, this dealership, this was on Lankershim Boulevard in North Hollywood. What makes Bob Ruman Pontiac so special, and I sort of alluded to this a little bit earlier in this episode, we are about to get another Trans Am in a few episodes that will be used on the series. That Trans Am was actually purchased by the studio from Bob Ruman Pontiac right here. When this episode was being filmed, there is a very good chance that Trans Am was already here at this dealership, sitting in the parking lot waiting to be purchased, to be turned into KITT. So there you go. Meanwhile, while that's all going around, so right, if we could turn the camera around, this would be where the dumpster is, right, kind of over off to the side. But KITT pulls up, and this is on Whipple Street in North Hollywood. And what's kind of neat is if you were to go back this road, just on the, actually it's pretty much adjacent to this building, it's actually Mickey's apartment, which we'll see later in this episode. So let's go back to Google Maps here. So this is where KITT is parked, right here in that scene. In this scene, KITT is parked right here. So if we turn all the way around, we'll move forward just a little bit. This is the alley right here. So the dumpster was right about here. Bob Ruman Pontiac was on the other side of this building. But if we go back to here, so here's where KITT's parked. If we turn this way and zoom in, this is Mickey's apartment right here. And if that's not good enough, the building right beside it is Gina's apartment from A Good Night's Work. So there you go. And we'll dig into that just a little bit more here in a couple minutes. We move to Mickey looking through the phone book, crossing off different Joe Palmers. And this is just kind of a neat little Easter egg, I suppose. This is actually a real phone book page with real phone numbers. And if you look closely, all they did, and you can see the line right here, all they did is they cropped in some fake names, some fake Palmer names with 555 phone numbers. So if we go ahead, another one, you can see the breakdown real easy right here. So they took a phone book, they went to the Palmer section, and then right here, right before KL Palmer with their real phone number, they just cut and pasted in all of these fake 555 phone numbers for all these other Palmers, and threw in a couple Joe Palmers here. Look, Weifman Boulevard, Betty Lou Lane. So they just, they put, this is all fake information they put here, but look to the left, and these are all real phone numbers as well. Michael is pulling up to the Beverly Garland hotel. This hotel will go on to be used in a number of Knight Rider episodes. Speed Demons. It even has a little bit in Lost Night if you look closely. Hearts of Stone. So, it does have the distinction in 2012, the Knight Rider reunion was actually hosted at the Beverly Garland, which was kind of cool. But this is the first appearance of the Beverly Garland in Knight Rider. And Michael looking out the window after the Frenchman escapes. And if we look way down here, On the parking lot, we see some of the Universal Studios transportation fleet, aka the Comtron trucks. Right here, the GMC Astro pulling one of the Comtron trucks. This is probably wardrobe and props, who knows, but there's two of them parked right there. So now we move forward, and this is Mickey going into her apartment. And again, if we go back to here, to Whipple Street, and go down the street a little bit, she's actually in one of these buildings. I can't remember which one it is. It's one of these two. One is Mickey's apartment. The other is Gina's apartment from A Good Night's Work. But she's actually inside. And if we take a look at the screenshot of the inside of Gina's apartment, you'll see it's very similar to this setup. So both those buildings they're like sister buildings. They were built at the same time with the same layout. So there we go, and there's a great shot of those two buildings with KITT parked in front. So if we take this and we come over here to compare the two, you can see very little has changed in 40 years. So back to here. So we still have those buildings. They're even still painted the same. How about that? And of course, I can't forget the AMC Gremlin right here. Once again, we see this. We saw it in a number of episodes prior. This exact AMC Gremlin red with white stripe, and here it is again. And I believe we zoom in, and there it is. Just one of the cast and crew's vehicles, I'm sure, that they keep using as a background vehicle. Michael and Mickey are now headed to the pedestrian grounds, as Mickey says, in reality the equestrian grounds. And if you take a look, you'll see, and I'm not sure if we still need to point this out, especially now that we've passed all of the episodes where you can see the white wire before they put the gaff tape, but it's kind of been a running joke on this series we're doing, so I'm just going to keep announcing at least through the end of the first season. So the white wire, the infamous white wire that we've mentioned in every single episode of this series, is still behind here, and it's now covered by gaff tape. And during this whole drive to the equestrian grounds, 99% of the footage is from other episodes. So we see this scene, which is actually from Trust Doesn't Rust. This is supposed to be Tony and Rev, obviously stunt people driving, and then they spin around the corner, and we can see there's no license plate because this is supposed to be car, but they're just reusing this footage for this episode. Then we see the reused jumping over some stalled cars from the pilot. Then we see another angle of that same footage from Trust Doesn't Rust. And then we see the 360-degree spins from the pilot. So pretty much the entire drive between Mickey and Michael from Mickey's apartment to the equestrian grounds is reused footage from other episodes. So why not? But then Michael eventually does get to the equestrian grounds, and this is the LA equestrian grounds, Los Angeles equestrian grounds. And once again, we look in the background and we can see the Knight Rider crew vehicles. Here's that same transportation semi with most likely wardrobe and props over here, but they're all parked right there. And then, of course, Michael and KITT have to make some grand entrance, so they just jump through a fence, not worrying about what they're destroying. But this is that same general-purpose stunt car that they used for this light jump. And this is a really good shot because you can see the front end is just not right. This bumper is sagging quite a bit. We can see the arch in the hood that we've mentioned prior, and you can even see, if you look close, the wood blocks, or the wood underneath the scanner that's holding the scanner housing up. The whole bumper has kind of fallen down at this point, which is why that this looks kind of just so strange. And it's interesting to note, they actually had a real person in the passenger seat here. Usually they would put a dummy in, but here they actually have a real person, and that person is grabbing onto the overhead console to try and brace herself for this jump. So there you go. There's the car coming in, and just doesn't look right. You can see that's just a mess up front, and this lady's still hanging on for dear life. So we have Michael. This is right after the Frenchman jumps on the horse. He's getting ready to chase him. This is the backup to the hero car. If you look closely, we can see some terrible orange peel on the car. We see the fake dash. In fact, if you look right here by the voice box, you can see it's just cut off right here. There's no dash underneath. It's just this fake frame with a small steering wheel. And now we move over to the turbo boost on the show field, and this is the roll caged acrylic jump car. So this is the one that has the steel roof. They cut out, this car did come equipped originally with T-tops. They cut them out. They put a steel roof on top and plexiglass or acrylic windows for the front and rear, and heavily roll caged. So number one jump car, at least at this point in the series. And skid plate. We've mentioned all this stuff before, so we won't go into detail. And there it is landing, doing a bottoming out right there. And you can really see right there, you can see he's got the helmet on, but just look at this, that roll cage. I mean, he was well protected in that car. Just a small goof. This horse, when it jumps over, it actually knocks the top blocks off just a little bit, and then we go to the next scene and they're all back to normal. So that was obviously an early take. The horse hit, so they had it jump again, and then this is the result of that. And now we're back to the stunt car, the general purpose stunt car, and we've got something. I'm not sure what it is. There's something here on this window. I don't know if it's a camera mount or whatnot, but there's something on the outside of this window here. So now we've got, this is the stunt car, and either this was filmed prior to the turbo boost through the fence, or they repaired it all. But you can see it's the same car. We still have got that arch in the hood. The front nose, if you look closely, they actually covered the fog light openings with gaffer's tape on both sides. Not sure why. Maybe there was some damage behind there or whatnot, but they just decided to slap some tape on there, hoping no one would notice. And then this is still the stunt car. We've got the roof off. This guy is about to stand up while they're driving, and they didn't have a blind driver on the driver's side. So if you look closely, this female stunt driver is reaching over, and she's grabbing the wheel, and she's going to drive from the passenger side while he stands up. And that's exactly what's happening here, while fake Michael, whoever that is, and fake Frenchman are trying to get away. And now we have fake Michael lassoing and trying to hog tie up the Frenchman, and we have fake Mickey over here. We have fake everything. This isn't even the hero car. This is the backup to the hero car. So you have fake Mickey, fake Michael, fake Frenchman, fake KITT. There you go. And that wraps up this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Join us next time as we celebrate KITT going under the knife and getting a voice box lift with Hearts of Stone. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. Look at you guys scrolling up the screen to my right. Wait a minute, how can you tell which side is my right, since you can't see me because I'm not on camera. Oh well, you know what I mean. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.